What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? This is Sir Hunt's Reviews. My name is Mark, and in this live stream, we're going to be discussing everything that just went down in Game of Thrones Season 8. Just kidding. House of the Dragon Season 1, Episode 5. Shout out to everybody in the chat. I'm going to do that real quick, but before, I want to give people time to join, right? I have 32 things that I noticed about the episode that are ultimately going to be put into probably like a 15 to 20-minute video that will be out before 3 in the morning or around then, right? And then I'll probably do obviously a promo breakdown in this live stream, and then also that'll be out probably by Monday night, Tuesday. All right, so here we go. First things first. So we start out with Rhea in the Vale, and I will say that Rhea's bronze armor, I saw pictures of her a couple of days ago or like yesterday or something. Some images came out, and I kind of already saw her before the episode appeared. But the armor for House Royce, they are Blood of the First Men, and the First Men didn't have a recorded history. So, they did, right? But they didn't write down their history on paper. Instead, they used runes. They would use these runes to record anything that would happen in their history. And they also would just, I think there's probably some old god magic infused with them. But anyway, in the books, Royce armor is supposed to look amazing, right? And specifically, it's bronze. It's ancient bronze armor. And that's exactly what Ryan did for the show, or the armor, rather, right? Kondo and Sapochnik are the showrunners, right? But look, she looks amazing. She looks like Arya and like Lyanna and like obviously someone from the Vale. It's really cool. I got Arya vibes because in the books, like in the TV show too, kind of, right? Arya was known as Horseface, but mostly because she could ride really well, just like her aunt Lyanna. So like I said, I got Lyanna vibes from her. And I think we saw Lyanna in Game of Thrones riding a horse. That was like the one scene we saw younger Lyanna, and then we saw her older getting married to Rhaegar, right? So that's why I got Lyanna vibes there. And then also Arya, because she kind of looks like Macy Williams a little bit, right? And then I will say this. What the hell was she going to do with a bow with him being that close? Like, Daemon is very much an opportunist, and this is like one of the most negative things he's done. Obviously, he opportunatively killed his wife, right? But it's kind of crazy. What the fuck are you going to do with that bow? You're going to pull it out real quick, string? Good luck. Good luck. He's like 2 feet away. Right. But anyway, I wasn't sure what was going to happen. It kind of looked like he tried to grab the horse as she was falling backwards, but then like she broke her bones. And then like, he finished the job with the rock because she threw the insult inside the episode thing. I've only seen part of it, but that's one of the things that Kondo mentioned was that like, she threw that last insult and Daemon finished the job. But he's right. There's a line in the books that says, she broke her neck, she fell off her horse, and her head was crushed. And it is kind of interesting. Like, it's assumed Daemon might have done that. I thought, and this was a dumb theory that I had. I say it's dumb because it's wrong. It would have been interesting and fun, right? Daemon would steal a dragon egg and give it to the Faceless Men, and then they killed Rhea Royce. But then obviously that didn't happen. There's a chance that could happen in the books, which is why I mentioned that, right? Someone will potentially, like Euron, right? Supposedly Euron had a dragon egg and threw it in the sea. There's no way Euron is that stupid, right? He probably gave it to the Faceless Men in order to kill his brother Balon so that he could, sit the salt chair, right, and win the King's Moot. It's most likely what happened. So I took that. It's something that's pretty much confirmed in the books. It's not, right? But like, why would Euron throw a temper tantrum and throw a dragon egg in the sea? If he really truly does have a dragon egg that he got because he's been to Old Valyria, right? I'm talking about a character that's not even in this show, but that's why I came up with that theory, right? So yeah, supposedly Euron has a temper tantrum and he throws the egg in the sea, and that's bullshit. He's probably lying to Velaryon when he says that, right? And when you connect the dots, Faceless Men need something of payment, right? That is dearly to the person who's buying their services. It has to cripple you. It has to put you in a tremendous amount of debt so that it's worth it for them to kill whoever the target is, right? And it's actually different per person. So someone like Euron, he's obviously coveted dragons. He sent his brother Velaryon with the dragon horn to go and claim Daenerys so that she can come back, and then Euron could marry her, and then his kids could ride dragons, right? He wants to tame a dragon, right? giving the faceless man a dragon egg is a huge form of payment in order to kill his brother. So it kind of cripples Euron. He no longer has a dragon egg. So he probably is really pouty, makes up that story about throwing it into the sea. Long story short, I thought Daemon would have done that to kill Rhea Royce. We kind of knew Daemon had something to do with it because in the books it specifically mentioned, Rhea Royce falls off her horse, breaks her neck. Where was Daemon? Oh, he just got sent back to the Vale for sleeping potentially with Rhaenyra. Oh, okay. Yeah, he probably killed his wife. This show kind of took it a step further and had him bash her head in with a rock. And that was just the first thing that I noticed, right? We have 32 more things. I'm going to give a shout out to the chat. Shout out to everybody that's watching right now and everybody that watches this afterwards. The second thing, this is before she died. The second thing I noticed was that she kind of like lifted up a little bit in her saddle when she saw Daemon. That was kind of funny. Basically the horse bucks back, kills her. Daemon finishes the job, crushes her head in, right? Then we have the king. Holy crap, man's falling apart, gets a bloody nose and just passes out at the end of the episode. Jumping ahead here, but yeah, the king is seasick. What's going on with that? Either he's probably just really sick, and being on a vessel in the sea didn't help, right? It's kind of interesting because when Steve Toussaint kept doing interviews, he kept saying, it's funny, I'm actually seasick, like in real life. And then his character is, Corlys the Sea Snake, someone who's gained his fortune on ships, right? Corlys in the book specifically, when he was really young, he was like 12 or 13, he was able to man the oars and do a lot of shit that grown men were able to do at a young age. The House of Velaryon made their wealth from being like seafarers, right? So yeah, it's kind of funny. The king is throwing up while he's on there. Then they arrive at high tide, obviously. Chilly reception. Nobody's out there, which is crazy. It's crazy. I was like, hold up. Is this a shot that was supposed to be left on the cutting room floor? And then obviously we realized, no. House Velaryon has literally said, hey, King, we know you're coming. Fuck you, right? They literally said, dude, it's a long walk down there. And if like doing it, you're going to come see all my cool stuff. Speaking of which, I thought we'd get to see way more stuff. We're probably going to find out there were some scenes that were cut. We saw those elongated skulls. We saw the crab feeder mask. We saw a couple of other cool things, but I want to see all the other stuff at high tide. And, the thumbnail of this video literally says book spoiler. So I'm not going to say spoiler alert every time I say something spoiler here. Come back and watch another video or something. There's probably people who have never read the books. You definitely don't have to worry about book spoilers with them. But anyway, high tide gets looted, and we're going to get to see all of the shit that Corlys has collected on his voyages, on his 9 voyages. That's why there's going to be a Sea Snake spinoff show. And when that happens, there's going to be moments that have callbacks to like, this is when the Sea Snake Corlys picked this up on this voyage. And remember in House of the Dragon when high tide was being looted and that got destroyed and burned? Sentimental. That sucks, right? These shows, it's going to be awesome. But yeah, what I was getting at was that I was kind of hoping they would spend just a wee bit more time at high tide showing all the cool stuff that he has. As a matter of fact, I don't even know if we actually got to see the crab feeder's mask in the shots. I'm sure we did, but I saw it in a picture that they released in the early promo photos that they released for, before the episode actually comes out. And then they transition smooth as a mother. Did anybody else watching notice, like, get confused for a second and be like, high tide looks remarkably like King's Landing. What's up with this red stone? Did anybody else think they were still at high tide for just a split second? Just a tiny second? I did. That was a cool ass camera edit. Shout out to whoever did that in the editing room. That was amazing. That was one of the slickest transitions I've ever seen from high tide to King's Landing. That was amazing. Like we see high tide in the backdrop, then we see, obviously the king on the ship and with Rhaenyra and Cole and they're arriving, right? And then it just goes switches to Alicent, right? That was really cool. Shout out to whoever did that. And then we have Otto and Dotto arguing. I call her Dotto because he always says daughter, you must do what you must do. His accent is a little bit in between Littlefinger and like someone else, and I'm getting it. I'm gonna be able to do like a lot of characters on the show, mostly Sir Otto, because it's like he's got the best lines. But yeah, Otto and Dotto arguing, right? And then we got the king is still sick as then they end up obviously arriving at high tide. Joffrey and Laenor are dueling, right? And no one is outside to greet the king. That's kind of crazy, right? Then we have Alicent and Larry's the Clubfoot. That was a very, Very interesting scene. You want to talk about opportunists? Let's talk about the clubfoot. Well, I did see a little bit of tea brought last night. I don't know. Like that's so crazy that this is. I mean, like we know. Obviously, Laurie is the master of whisperers, right? He gets his information and then relays it to Allison. And actually, specifically, when the green cat, I can't wait for this. This is going to be one of my favorite scenes. I don't even know why. I don't know why. Maybe after I explain it to you, you can let me know why. Maybe it's one of your favorite scenes, right? So when the Green Council happens at the end of all of it, right after Lionel Beesbury is the guy that we keep seeing in the small council meetings. After he either gets his throat slit by Cole or thrown out the window for protesting for Rhaenyra, right? He basically is like, hey, no, Rhaenyra is the heir. What the hell are you guys doing? You can't name Aegon, who we saw, speaking of which, in the promo, right? We saw the younger version of Aegon played by Ty Tennant. It's awesome. Little badass motherfucker. You know what I'm saying, motherfucker? You know what I'm saying? But what was I just saying? Damn, I go on too many of these tangents. What was I just talking about? Son of a gun. Otto and Dotto arguing. King is still sick as fuck. Joffrey and Leonard dueling. Chilly reception. Larry's Alicent Moon Tea. Snitching. Clubfoot bastard. This is why she starts to hate Ray. What was I just going? Oh, damn. I have to come back to it. Oh, yes. Laurie's the Clubfoot. Damn it. All right, cool. So, yes, after that Green Council happens, where they establish Aegon II as the king, right? At the very end, Clubfoot goes, we must take a blood oath. Let's slit our palms. And everybody that's responsible for this basically dies horribly. That's at that meeting. Not horribly, but in some of them even live a little bit. But Alicent, who's a part of that meeting, is told to not partake because on account of her womanhood. But guess what? She's the only one who survives out of that meeting. That, for the most part, that doesn't have a crazy death. Like she survives the entirety of the dance, right? She lives until past the dragons dancing, right? I don't know. Thought that was really cool. Maybe that's why I like the scene so much, because it's so foretelling. All of this stuff, and people have commented this on my videos. I mentioned it, or either me or Robert, one of us mentioned it, or someone commented it, mentioned how special the Weirwood tree is. Robert and from In Deep Geek, right? We did a live stream last week, like a pre-episode 4 pre-game thing. I've had a lot of people come over and subscribe to my channel from that. Speaking of which, I'm really close to 100,000. If you're watching this live and you're watching this right now, or you're watching this afterwards, please subscribe. It'll help YouTube from stop shadow banning my channel. But basically, a lot of shit keeps happening in front of that Weirwood tree. And I saw a picture of the Night King being turned into the Night King in front of a Weirwood tree. Now, there's not really a Weirwood tree in the Game of Thrones books in King's Landing. Specifically, there is not one. There's a really old oak tree that Sansa prays to. And I've mentioned this before. Weirwood trees, they don't drop seeds. So the inhabitants of Westeros don't exactly know how they're formed, but there's this idea that the Night's Watchmen of old would put acorn seeds in fallen Night's Watchmen's graves, and then a Weirwood tree would form. And then that Weirwood tree would have the face of whoever died there. That's just like something that's sort of mentioned in the books, right? But on the TV show, that Weirwood tree looks amazingly similar to the one that the Night King was made in front of. So maybe all this shit keeps happening in front of this Weirwood tree, and then we're going to find out, hey, that's how the Night King was actually formed in front of this place where Aegon landed. Aegon landed at this place where he, saw this crazy thing happening in his flames, right? He saw that the Night King was formed here. He's like, I'm going to make a capital here. Maybe he thought initially that would be a great base of operations because that's where the Night King was formed. I don't know. I could be wrong. Yo, everybody in the chat, let me know right now. Do you think that the reason why they keep showing the Weirwood tree in this show and all these scenes keep happening in front of it, and like we get under the dragon's eye, which I was like, I tweeted this out the other day. Speaking of which, go follow me at Sir_Hunter at Dragon Daddy, right? I tweeted out like under the dragon's eye literally is hilarious when you realize Bloodraven's watching all of this shit, and he's half Targaryen and he's a dragon and he's watching it. So it's under the dragon's eyes what's happening at that Weirwood tree. But what if that's the same Weirwood tree that the Night King was formed at? I don't know. You all let me know what you think down below or in the chat, which I'm going to say what's up to everybody watching right now. I just want to get through some more of my notes because as soon as I jump in the chat, I get sidetracked. Otto and Dotto arguing. Where are we? All right, and then we get the dude Harold Royce, right, telling the king about Rhea's death. After we cut back to obviously Rhaenyra and Laenor getting married, my notes are a jumble, and a lot of this stuff is going to ruin some of my jokes that I have planned for the video. A couple of other cool things. Kristen ran the ship, and we get like heavy book exposition where basically Rhaenyra. This is something that's confirmed from the books, right? So we have 3 different sources telling a story in Fire and Blood, right? There's no POV, but we have Mushroom's testimony, Grand Maester Orwell's account, who we actually saw in this episode. Shout out to Grand Maester Orwell. I want to talk about him in a second, but one of the things that they confirmed this episode was that the reason that Kristen and Rhaenyra like no longer fuck with each other, and the reason why Kristen goes and proclaims for Alicent being obviously her protector from that point forward. Obviously she catches him from doing suicide, which is like a samurai thing. I don't know. That definitely doesn't happen in the books. That happened for the TV show. But that just shows you how emotional he was. He came from nothing. He gave it all up. And then she's like, look, bro, you can be my whore. And he's like, ha, I will not. But yeah, I don't know. Anyway, one of the things they confirmed was the fact that Kristen professed his love to Rhaenyra. And that's mentioned in the books. It's like, this could be a rumor, but the singer most likely made this part up, right? And it's actually what happened. Kristen said, yo, we can go across the narrow sea, right? In the books, it's basically Kristen says your father's writ doesn't extend over there, like he doesn't have any power over in Essos. In the show they added the part where he's like, I've always wanted to see what these orange cinnamon ships go, like where the spice trade flows, right? Basically he's like, let's go see the world. And she's like, nah, dude. And the main reason why, and we're not really given the reason why she turns him down in the books, but for the TV show, it makes so much sense. She's got this way more important destiny, and that's to save Westeros from the White Walkers. It's going to be crazy how, if we don't get to see White Walkers in the show. Obviously, we're not supposed to. They're not mentioned in the books. I will say this, and a lot of people kind of glaze over this and sort of just, chalk it up to the wind, right? There's a moment right before Viserys dies where he's talking to his grandchildren, right? So Aegon's children, Jaehaera and Jaehaerys, they're twins, right? He's telling them a bedtime story about how when Jaehaerys, the old king, the guy who's in power at the beginning of the show, went north and fought a vast host of wildlings and wargs, right? And he helped out the Night's Watch. Now, in the books, they literally say, oh, that's probably just a children's bedtime story. I don't think so. Maybe there is some shit going on up north. And maybe that's what the holdup was with Cregan, and it just wasn't explored further in Fire and Blood. Like Cregan takes kind of like, he tells everyone around him Cregan is the young wolf. I was about to say he's probably going to be Henry Cavill. Like there's rumors that Henry Cavill's supposed to play somebody, but I don't know. That would be kind of too crazy. He definitely overshadows that role. He's the fucking Witcher, right? In Superman. I don't know. But yeah. So it's a possibility that White Walkers could be more of a thing in this show. And like maybe we'll get to see, Daemon becomes the original Bloodraven, and then he hands down the reins to Bloodraven. Like one of the things we mentioned in the chat with Robert from Indie Geek, he mentioned it, was that the God's Eye gets a taste of Targaryen blood, at least for the most part, for what we know, for the first time when Daemon dies over it and dies in the lake. Aemon dies there, right? Daemon, like his dragon, probably survives long enough to swim ashore and then lives out the rest of his days with the Woods Witch, Nettles. Nettles is not necessarily a Woods Witch, but she's worshipped by this clan in the woods called the Burnmen. They're the mountain clans that live in the Vale, right? Tyrion runs into them. Timett, son of Timett, the dudes that he has protecting him in Game of Thrones season 1. Those dudes. One of them is actually from the Burned Men. He's missing his eye. He burned his eye out. Those people used to sacrifice parts of their body, like back in the day, back in the dance, right after a Dance of Dragons happens, they would sacrifice a part of their body to Nettles' dragon Sheep Stealer to prove how brave they were. So Nettles is chilling off in the woods. These mountain clan dudes discover her, and they're like, dude, we gotta worship her. This crazy bitch has a dragon up here, Sheep Stealer. We gotta show her how brave we are. And they would like risk feeding her dragon sheep stealer, probably like she did, right? So the whole way Nettles captures sheep stealers by feeding him sheep every day until eventually Nettles claims sheep stealer. That's why some people think she doesn't actually have dragon's blood and she performed tricks. Bullshit. She has dragon's blood. She's probably going to be a bastard of Corlys Velaryon. Corlys Velaryon has several bastards. I'm hoping to play one of them. I'm hoping to play Alon. Or maybe Adam, because Adam rides the dragon. Alon Oakenfist shares the name from the Oakenfist from Lord of the Rings, the dwarf, right? But Adam Velaryon, loyal, right? He has loyal on his tomb. He rides Sea Smoke. That's who I want to be. But yeah, Corlys has several bastards, so they're probably going to make Nettles one of his bastards. Nettles and Daemon have a relationship. There's even some rumors from the books that Nettles is supposedly Daemon's daughter. It's probably not going to happen for the TV show. There's already so many kids going on. All right, so look, a couple more things, one more thing, and then I'm going to jump in the chat. Holy shit. I don't know why I haven't already mentioned this. The Knight of Kisses loses his kisser or his half of his face brain. How is Cole able to do that and not immediately arrested? Like, yes, this is my first genuine gripe with this show. How the fuck? Like, yeah, Cole goes and kills himself, or is about to, right? He's about to kill himself, and then Allison comes in. How is he able to beat a man's face off? Like, Lonmouth, Knight of Kisses, he ain't shit. He's not, Lonmouth's not a really prominent house in Westeros. He was just Laenor's lover boy, right? But how can you do that and just freely walk around to the point where you can go to the Godswood and go kill yourself? He was gonna be able to walk free after doing that. That is crazy. Like, that's nuts. Like, I'm sure they're going to explain it more, and I'm sure he probably would have been disciplined. He probably would have been removed from the King's Guard, and he does it at that night, so they hadn't really had the time to react. But, like, yo, how are you able to do? How are you able to? That's how Ramsay's face should have looked after Jon beat the shit out of him. Like, oh, that's so crazy. All right, let's jump in the chat. We've got 236 people watching right now. That's what's up. Please slap a like on this video. Like goal is going to be 420. Also, subscribe. We're really close to 100,000 here on you. Imagine if I hit 100,000 during this live stream. It'd be crazy. All right. I've already hit 100,000 too. I have the silver play button right there. Basically, what it does, and if you're unaware, and I mention this in almost every single video, so I'm sure you've heard of this. Let me give a brief summary. YouTube is shadow banning my channel. You don't believe me? Look, ever since Game of Thrones ended, as soon as House of the Dragon was announced in 2019 or 2020, whatever, I've been making content since then. One of the things on YouTube here is consistency is king. So if you make videos on one topic, usually what happens is your videos will get promoted at some point in their algorithm. At some point. I'm not saying to the top of the algorithm, but I'm saying at some point, if you type House of the Dragon, your video should come up, especially if you've been doing it for 2 years. Long story short, none of my shit shows up. None at all. If you watch my videos, yes, you'll get promoted. That's how YouTube works. They're like, you've watched this guy's videos before. Let's promote his videos. If you're incognito mode or if you've never seen my stuff, you don't get promoted. So one of the ways to defend against that and to beat it down like fucking like Cole on the Night of Kisses, the YouTube's algorithm, right, is to have a strong sub count, a strong view count on your videos, and also lots of likes and comments. So that's what I'm asking for that. Also, it makes me feel good to read those comments and interact with people. Not even gonna lie. It's a massive ego boost to see like, oh, holy shit, all of these people are either fans of me, and I don't really like saying that, but they like watching me explain something that they like. That's why I started this. So yes, obviously that's a benefit of that, but also literally you're helping out my channel because there's definitely a shadow. There's something's going on, and it's known as a shadow ban. That's YouTube, whatever reason. I think it's because of the people that I subscribe to, like not the non-controversial channels. You can go and look. They're public. You can see who some of those channels have gotten into trouble before with YouTube, right? So maybe that's the only thing I can think of. I don't know. Who cares? Let's move on. Shout out to everybody who's typing in the chat right now. Let's see. Shout out to Dawn Marie, Bio Explorer, DJ KLY242 X Factor, White Tyson, M3 Kimmy1, Sleepy, X Immortal, Brian Williams, Brian Thrasher, Lord Alon Velaryon, Howie's Armory, excuse me, Hunter, Wesley Cornelius, Roman Gonzalez, Sonia Charles, Kevin Wesley, Southward, Cat Shepherd, M3, Kimmy 1. I need to stop drinking soda right before I start talking on the mic because it makes you gassy as shit. Mustache, Cash Stash, K3G92, Chris Carr, Frenchy, what's up? Pebbles83, the Bio Explorer. Oh, I already said that. The North Must Remember, what's up, buddy? Liz Fiola, Angel Christ, Elon Hector, Marjan Kayak Kavoski, the Sea Snake, Michael Fisk, Caleb Collins, Delroy, LML, what's up, buddy? Shaun Moda 424, Fabricio de Albuquerque, what's up? I think that's everybody. Brendan Bailey, Zeus Bimnit, Ava Stormborn, Diane 7707, Boots Among Trees, Chimera's Flame, Cheryl Lindsay, Shelly Hannah, Breanne Johnson, what's up, girl? Lady Viking 89. And I think that's everybody that's typing right now. Anybody else that I missed or that's watching this afterwards, fucking thank you for viewing and watching my stuff. Big fan of A Song of Ice and Fire, big fan of House of the Dragon. So thank you for watching. Yeah. All right. So yeah. All right. Couple more things. Let's see how long we've been going. 25 minutes. All right. So what are there really people that after tonight's episode believe that the king is not being poisoned by the maesters? Like, this episode was called We Light the Way. And like, technically, you heard from Breakbones Harwin himself, or as I call him, Break Cervix, right? You're going to see how big these strong, strapping lads that Rhaenyra gives birth to, that literally Harwin is the father, right? Anyway, you heard him say that when House Hightower goes to war, the flame in the Hightower changes to green, right? Strong Cersei vibes when Alicent walked in. And you saw from the promo, we switched next episode to Olivia Cook. The transition from innocent Alicent, remember that was a whole gimmick that I had for like my last live stream. Alicent is innocent. No longer. The coming in like that, all late, like, she didn't know the king had just been disrespected by Lord Corlys, the sea snake, right? And then she comes in all fucking Cersei'd up. And you got to realize Cersei's connected with Wildfire in the TV show. So that strong Wildfire, like House Hightower, I think the colors, like, so in the books, the Queen's party is known as the Greens, right? And that is very much Alicent's party. And then also, obviously, the princess's party is known as the Blacks. So it's the Greens versus the Blacks. So House Hightower is going to war. The king knows that. He also knows that that's a very provocative dress that his wife chose to wear into, steal, if you even want to call it, steal the thunder away from his daughter. So this was basically Alicent getting back at Rhaenyra for Rhaenyra lying to her. Like, people keep lying to Alicent and she keeps getting pissed off. And she's like, God damn it, if someone just tell me the truth. And Cole told her the truth. So that is very believable. It's another thing that the show has done, expanded upon from the books, that is such a wise choice. I still think it's crazy that he's able to beat the shit out of the Knight of Flowers. That is nuts. The guy's face was gone. Laenor Season's like, oh, whoa, what? What just happened? Like, oh, this is nuts. That's so crazy. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that literally was like Ramin was playing Cersei's theme when in the scene when Alicent enters, right? No, maybe not. Yeah. Oh yeah. So the king. Is there anybody in the chat that thinks he's not being poisoned by the maesters? Like, Patty Constantine said he has leprosy. There were people, the Bio Explorer, she's one of my channel members here, right? She's mentioned that in, like, when you look it up, leprosy is, you would spread it to everybody if that's actually what the king has. Nosebleeds, passing out, his whole arm is covered in these sores. It's about to get cut off. Like I said, we got to see Orwell, and I'm about to talk about Orwell right now. Let me know in the chat, do you think the king is being poisoned? And I'm going to let you know right now, I do. The king is totally being poisoned. I think it's like a Westerosi version of leprosy that is specifically... Okay, so... God, this is another sidetrack. And please remind me to talk about Orwell, because that's really cool that we got to see in this episode, right? In the books, this dude, known as the Viper, fights the Mountain. Happens on the TV show. One of the most famous moments of Game of Thrones is when Oberyn Martell gets his head squashed by the mountain, right? In the books and in the TV show, Oberyn is a master of poisons. As a matter of fact, when Sir Ares Oakheart and Arianne Martell are traveling through Dorne to go and meet with this emo motherfucker named Darkstar from House Dane, which is not really, neither one of them are characters in the books, but on their way there, Arianne mentions how her uncle Oberyn used to milk vipers in the area, right? He would go and catch snakes in the area, right? Where they're at in Dorne, right? And go and milk their poison and put it in jars. He also did something to mutate the poison that he put on all of his blades when he fought the mountain. So that's why the mountain, no matter what, even if he got a scratch on him, he was going to die. So people like Oberyn went to the Citadel and formed several links of a Maester chain and was like, yo, I'm done, right? He learned how to poison people there, and then he kept messing with poison. So he mutated this poison and made the poison that made the mountain have necrosis, and this big, strong, strapping motherfucker was able to died ultimately from it and was brought back as Sir Robert Strong on the TV show and in the books, right? Well, at least we don't know if it's him in the books. He probably has Robert Baratheon's head on him in the books because Cersei sent the mountain skull back to Dorne to appease Oberyn's brother. It's a whole thing, right? But because of the fact that there's someone mutating poisons, it's possible that this Westerosi version of leprosy or whatever is mutated by the Maesters, because the Maesters do not want dragons on the throne. The difference is that they support Alicent in House Hightower, right? Because they work hand in hand, right? House Hightower was in Old Town. They helped form the Maesters. As a matter of fact, a member of House Hightower formed the Maesters. There was this dude who was crippled, Paramore the Twisted or something like that. He had a curious mind, so he would allow, and this is, I'm telling you the origin story of the Maesters, right? And how they formed, right? This dude, Paramore the Twisted, had all of these wise individuals before Westeros was even a thing, before Aegon even came over. This is when Old Town is the oldest town in Westeros. That's how far back the High Towers go, right? So this High Tower dude, a Twisted, this guy who was basically like Larry's the Clubfoot, right? He's unable to walk, right? He has all of these learned men, wizards, anybody who knows a bunch of knowledge, even if it's forbidden, he would have them come and just talk to him. And those learned individuals formed the Maesters, right? Basically, after the Paramore the Twisted guy dies, his family, House Hightower, forms the Citadel. So that's how close House Hightower and the Citadel is working, right? So the Maesters are working with, right? So if their kin is on the throne, that's different than just a regular dragon. That's probably their master plan, was to ultimately, because they knew there were so many Targaryens, they had so much power, they're fucking everybody. They knew that ultimately if they could have their blood mixed in with a Targaryen, it'd be easy to control. You heard Corlys asking the king, if my grandchildren take the Iron Throne, are they going to have House Velaryon's last name, or are they going to have House Targaryen's last name? So it's really important which house is sitting on the Iron Throne. So technically, Aegon II, when he usurps the Iron Throne from his sister Rhaenyra, House Hightower is sitting on the throne because he's half Hightower and listens to his mama. Oh shit, we got some super chats. There's a couple that I missed. Let me go to that. Let me pull the I'm looking at the chat through the streaming software that I'm using, but I need to pull it up through YouTube to see. What the heck? Why is it not letting me? Okay, here we go. Thank you, Pebbles83. No message, just a super chat. Appreciate that. Shout out to North Remember. What's up, buddy? He says the color green never looked so violent. Thoughts on Vhagar sighting? The promo. I'm gonna save that. I'm about to talk about the promo here in a second after I talk about our boy Orwile. Thank you for that super chat. Super sticker from Marjan. Thank you. No message. Thank you for that. Let's see. Liz Viola says he didn't let the younger Maester put his poultices on the king. Yes. Okay, so this is a perfect segue. We are about to talk about Orwile. right? So Orwell, okay, I already said I'm not going to say spoilers. Orwell gets promoted to become the Grand Maester because his medicine eventually helps the king. The king starts feeling better. The king literally makes like almost a full recovery with Orwell's potasis. He's a younger man. His medicine is newer, right? Eventually, he is Grand Maester when King Aegon II is crowned. He is sent by Aegon II and the Queen's party, Alicent, to go to treat with Rhaenyra over on Dragonstone. He says, yo, are you going to come and pledge fealty to your brother and bend the knee? He's the king. So, yeah, right? And Rhaenyra checks him by saying, weren't you there when my father named me his heir? And he's like, yes, I was. And he's like, well, okay, see you later. So she basically, after she checks him, she sends him back and lets him know, like, no, I'm not bending the knee to Aegon. Long story short, when Aegon feeds Rhaenyra to his dragon and comes back and takes King's Landing, he's poisoned. He's poisoned by Orwell. Right? So according to Larry's Clubfoot, Orwell gets the poison from him, right? Or Orwell gives poison to Larry's Clubfoot. Larry's the Clubfoot pours the poison in the king's wine, and when Cregan comes down in the Hour of the Wolf, right? The stock, Winston is coming. When he comes down, he throws Orwell in a dungeon, and this is when Orwell makes his confessions. And Orwell is one of the accounts that are taken into consideration when George wrote Fire and Blood. So that's why I couldn't wait to get that out. There's some other shit that happens with him, but I can't recall it off the top of my head. The actor says it's leprosy, but the symptoms don't fit. This is from the BioExplorer. And while it's not super infectious, it is when you have prolonged contact, which Alicent has. Yes, but Alicent definitely, that's too far of a striation away from the books. Like, Alicent doesn't get sick. She lives, like I said, she outlives most of the people in this story. The Clubfoot is Littlefinger on steroids. Hell yeah. It's like we're getting to watch the Littlefinger from the Littlefinger. It's like we're getting to watch a character like Littlefinger from his origin story. And that origin story is from probably, as we saw in episode 2, him not getting to participate with the men and being forced to sit with the women, as he says. And that's where he learns all those secrets and realizes, oh, this is how I gain power by, information, via information. And we're actually, because we have not seen any scenes with all of the Strongs together, like so Harwin, Clubfoot, and then their dad Lionel, we're probably going to get that in the next couple of episodes. Obviously, he becomes Rhaenyra's protector. You saw him carry her away when she's like almost moshed out and stomped on, right? And then also he kept her secret from when she was running through the streets. Obviously, Harwin becomes it was crazy. Literally, Lionel was like, "Get him, boy!" And then Harwin's like, "Yes, time to start smashing." Fuck yeah, fuck with Harwin. But yeah, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see the dynamic between the father and sons. Is he going to be like, does he encourage Larys the Clubfoot to do the behind the scenes kind of, behind the shadows kind of thing, or is it more so he leans into that on his own because his brother has his strength and his dad has his position and obviously their power. They're part of Harrenhal, and I've explained it before. Harrenhal is literally the most beautiful castle in all of Westeros. The reason being is because the dude who made it, Harren the Black, pulled resources from all of the land surrounding Harrenhal to build this castle. So ultimately, when Aegon comes over the day after the castle is finished being built, Aegon comes over and burns the shit out of it. He's able to convince the River Lords, because that's the thing. Aegon has 3 dragons, but not much of an army at all, because Westeros is already established. It really was these 7 feuding kingdoms. Right now, it's 7 territories all paying homage to the king in King's Landing, right? But back then, they were literally like 7 individual countries that were constantly warring, right? So all of the River Lords that were having all their shit stolen by Harren the Black were easily convinced to join Aegon the Conqueror's side because, like, they didn't like the dude Harren the Black. So that's really how Aegon conquered most of Westeros, is by having, his dragons, yes, but ultimately, like, having people pay fealty and join his side. So how strong is that Harrenhal? That, because Harrenhal is what it is, right? It's like anybody who holds that house is cursed, but also, like, how strong has a lot of power. So it'll be interesting to see if Lionel encourages Harwin to be a badass fighter, and then also to, to Clubfoot to use his talents, which is that to be unassuming and unexpecting, and to maybe worm and weasel their way around. I was about to thought of something else to say while I was going on that tangent, but I can't really think of it, so I'm going to jump back in the chat. Hell yeah, that was such a good scene with Allison with that dress coming in. Yes, but I am 100% confident in Emma Darcy. They are going to murder it. Everybody's going to be like, Millie who? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But honestly, it's funny because what everybody's afraid of now is like, oh, these actresses that are coming on, Alicent and the older version of Alicent and the older version of Rhaenyra, the actresses coming on, they're not the same person as the five episode arc that we just saw, right? Everybody was worried, or everybody now is worried, like, are they going to be good? Back before the show even started, I was worried if Millie Alcock and Emily Carey were going to be good, because I'm such a big fan of Olivia Cook, but also because, like, I feel like as you progress as an actor, you gain talent as you age. So I was worried that the first 5 episodes were going to be boring because we had the younger actors who were less experienced, right? Which may not even be the case, because some of these actors and actresses may have started before the other ones. I don't fucking know. I don't know. I didn't know that much attention. I didn't know anything about any of these people before the show started. But now they're mega stars, right? So it's funny. That was my fear, was the opposite before the show started. I was like, this is going to be a rough 5 episode arc, because ultimately the story starts when the characters are older, and the build up to, the dying of the dragons and a question of succession and all that stuff. It's interesting, but ultimately the story really kicks off when they're older and they've got kids that are like, as we saw in the next episode, the time jump is happening. It's dope. I agree he's being poisoned. Thank you. Yes. Exactly. So I forgot that. He kind of gave it away there. I don't know how, but the king will not live to be an old man. Like, yeah. How? Because I have it set. I'm poisoning him, right? Yes, more than likely. Nice. Old Clubfoot, definitely a creepy dude. Breakbone smash. That's literally what he said. He's like, Harwin, fuck you doing? Get in there. And he just knocks out 3 dudes within 3 seconds. He's like, boom, boom, boom. And then in the promo, which we're about to start, that was the other thing. But let's talk about the promo. In that, you see him beating up Cole. And you know what? Mushroom, who did not have any lines, who I think it was the Indian fellow playing the drums, the Indian dwarf dude, I don't know. Maybe not. It's kind of hard to tell. He had the big head. I will say that. I think that might have been Mushroom. I don't know. He was the drummer in the wedding. But anyway, Mushroom says that after Cole beats Harwin viciously at a tourney, Harwin is known as Broken Bones after that. So it looks like this show might take a different approach to that. And we see Cole getting beat up by, at least for the small clip that we saw, right? Where Harwin is on top of him. And that's most likely because Cole is encouraging Aegon II to call out all of Rhaenyra's kids for being bastards, right? So Harwin not only worked for Daemon in the Gold Cloaks and obviously is loyal to him, but also, he's going to protect the honor of his bastard children, who probably at this point have heard the rumors, so they know their dad is probably his Harwin dude. So he's like, I don't want to look like a, like a punk. And then he takes Cole down. Also, this, I could be wrong in that, like, they're switching it where Harwin is a better fighter than Cole and he's killed in the fire, and that's why we never see them sort of face off, right? But I could be wrong, and maybe that tourney thing does still happen, right? And the reason why Cole beats the shit out of Harwin so savagely is not because he's still upset about the Rhaenyra thing, but ultimately because Cole did this to him in the practice yard. Like, maybe Cole doesn't look like he's wearing his armor. He's using wooden swords when he's fighting and training with Aegon too. So, since he doesn't have any armor on, maybe that's how Harwin's able to get the better of him. Like, he just punches him in the face with his greaves, with like a mailed fist, is what George loves to say. One of my favorite lines is all the different ways George has the ground coming up to meet the character when they either get knocked out, they pass out, when Sam gets thrown into the river in Bravos and he's like about to drown, the bottom of the river comes up and meets him in the face. It's a really clever writing trick to say, hey, this dude got knocked the fuck out. The earth came up and said hello. As I wish there would be like in the UFC fights where one commentator would just be like, oh, the ground came to meet him to the ring. And there probably has been something like that, but he hasn't really covered. So who is the dad of Rhaenyra's children? Allison said something in the trailer about the 3 being an insult. So yes, that's what I've been saying. Harwin is the rumored father of her kids. You could argue that because Laenor's half black, that their kids look like that because... No, you can't say that because in the TV show, he's got silver hair. He's got the silver hair of typical Velaryon features. So their kids, with both of their parents having that hair, their kids should have that hair, but they don't. So Harwin is the father. We see Harwin always around with Rhaenyra, right? He spends most of the time with her wherever she goes, up until the point where, Harwin is banished from court for some reason. It's obviously because the king is tired of hearing enough about the rumors. Like there's House Velaryon members who bring up a question of succession for Rhaenyra's children because Jace is named the heir to High Tide and Driftmark and to the Velaryon fortune, right? But Vaemon Velaryon, I mean, it should happen on the TV show, loses his tongue by saying, like, look, Jacaerys isn't even a member of House Velaryon. Like, he might be Rhaenyra's heir, but he's not. And the king kept saying, like, I don't want to hear any more of these rumors. So the king takes his tongue, right? So that's going to happen to a couple of members of Velaryon. But it's all a question of succession because they don't look like how they should. The one thing they should have is the white hair. And Rhaenyra ends up having kids with Aegon, and their kids have white hair. So white is a way to put it. Really, it's precious metal. So in the books, George describes the Lannisters as having a similar color hair, but ultimately most of the Targaryens have variations of like silver, gold, white gold, precious metal. Their hair looks, not like everybody else's, basically. What was the animal Allison saw up in the ceiling the morning after the king called her to the bed? Was that a rat? Yes. Oh, yes. The rat at the end of the episode licking up the Night of Kisses blood. Doesn't happen in the books, but blood and cheese. Rats love cheese. Apparently, these rats love blood, right? We're going to see the introduction of the rat catcher known as Cheese, Blood. We probably already saw him. We saw he was probably the dude that was yelling out, or that could be Sir Luther Largent, right? But they could like do an amalgamation of the character who's yelling out, thief, raper, murderer in the first episode, we saw with the gold cloaks, right? Oh man, this is gonna be season 2. There's no way it happens this season, right? So Blood and Cheese is this moment after Lucerys dies at the end of this season. Daemon is in Harrenhal and he tells Rhaenyra, he sends her a letter, right? Because Rhaenyra's on Dragonstone. And this is after Rhaenyra's already crowned. This is after Aegon's already crowned. So this is before the war really kicks off. It's as of right now in the book, it's known as a War of Ravens because Sir Otto Hightower, the hand of Aegon II, is just sending out messages to try to get as many alliances as possible. Rhaenyra's kind of doing the same thing, except for Daemon went and took Harrenhal, right? Rhaenyra loses her son, Lucerys, while they're all playing a War of Ravens down in Storm's End. And when that happens, Daemon sends her a letter and says, yo, babe, I got you. A son for a son, an eye for an eye. Let's do this. So he hires rat catcher named Blood. A rat catcher named Cheese, who we're probably going to see in this season. He's this dude who's hired to kill all the rats in King's Landing. And then after Cheese is hired by Mysaria via Daemon to kill one of Aegon II's children, right? With Blood, who's a former member of the Gold Cloaks that used to work for Daemon, but he got kicked off the Gold Cloaks because he was raping a woman. Like I said, he may potentially be the dude in the first episode who was going, raper, murderer, thief, right? They sneak in and they kill their kids, but that was assigned to it. That was crazy foreshadowing. Did not happen in the books, but that rat symbolism for cheese, licking up the blood. Blood and cheese is coming, right? Blood and cheese didn't have really that much to do with that scene in particular. But it's actually kind of interesting because after blood and cheese happens, Aegon II becomes paranoid of all the rat catchers in King's Landing, so he has them all killed and put to the torch. So then they bring in cats to kill all the rats in King's Landing. And in the books, Rhaenys the princess, daughter of Ilya Martell and Rhaegar, has a cat, Velaryon, if I'm not mistaken. And Velaryon recognizes or only trusts certain... There's a theory that eventually the cat... Besides the point, something like that actually happened in real medieval history, right? So all of the... they think the dogs and the cats are responsible for spreading the plague, so they kill all of the dogs and the cats. And the dogs and the cats back in the medieval days during in real life, right? During the plague, they would kill the rats which carried the plague. So when the medieval idiots said kill the rats and the dogs because they're carrying the plague, right? Really, they were keeping the plague at bay. But obviously, when they killed the cats and the dogs, the rats took over and spread the plague even more. So that doesn't really have anything to do with Fire and Blood or House of the Dragon, but it's just, I don't know, something I thought that was related. George probably threw that in there. Oh shit, we got a super chat from Dennis Sorensen. Where is that? Won't let me pin it. Oh, there we go. He says, have a good night. Thank you, Dennis. Shout out to Dennis, long time subscriber and, always donating to shit. Thank you so much, man, for all the support. He says, have a good night. I'll be looking for your breakdown tomorrow. Hell yeah. And that will be up potentially before 3. Let's see. We've been going. We're right around that cracking point. We're right around an hour. Holy moly, rat foreshadowing. Hell yeah. Clubfoot is a rat. Hell yeah. Yup, indeed. Thank you for that super chat, by the way, Dennis. Appreciate that, man. Viserys is such a weak king. I feel bad for him. That's what he got into that discussion with Lionel about. He's like, Lionel, well, what will the history say of me? Will they say I am a weak bitch, or will they say I am... Viserys is amazing, dude. Paddy Considine brings so much to the character. He says, I probably would have been a different person if I was forged in a crucible, which basically means if I had... There's spit that keeps showing off my lip. That's disgusting. Oh yeah, let's break down that promo. I'm gonna get ready to break down the promo, so that way that'll be the last thing I do. But yeah, he says basically he tells he says what everybody's thinking, which is that under different circumstances, he probably would have been a different king. Oh, I didn't mean to share this. I meant to share this. Oh, you're playing the audio. Wait, got to break it down. All right. So yes, he basically says what we're thinking, which is that Viserys, or at least for me, because Viserys is kind of George put it perfectly in an interview. He said in Fire and Blood, Viserys was a way to get from Jaehaerys, the old king who ruled for a really long time and had a large chunk of Fire and Blood. It was just a way to get from Jaehaerys to the Dance of the Dragons. In Fire and Blood, during Jaehaerys' chapters, it's mentioned the Dance of the Dragons or some sort of succession crisis was bound to happen simply for the fact that there were too many claims. There was too many people that had some sort of claim to the Iron Throne. And then also there were too many dragons. So eventually, at some point, there was going to be some crazy person who either would have wanted to think that they should sit the Iron Throne over the other person. There was going to be something like the dance happening. So, I don't know. It's cool to see him that at least written into his character to be that sort of self-reflective. It's always good to do some soul searching, so to speak, figure out who you are. And he knows he's dying. He knows his legacy, and there's going to be something that happens. But he ultimately doesn't see, at least in episode 5, the writing on the wall, and that's that you're not going to be able to leave the succession how it is, especially since you have a male heir through Alicent that is riding dragons, and we see in the jump he's a strong, capable warrior. And then not only just the one, but he has three. He has three sons, and then potentially a couple of bastards sprinkled in that may make claims during something that is like the craziest time in Dance with Dragons, where in Fire and Blood, where basically people Gaiman Palehair makes a claim and he rules on one of the hills in King's Landing. There's all these different claims, and there's no one in Westeros. There's no one in King's Landing that can actually stop these people from doing this, right? So there's all these different we'll say groups or factions that say this person is the heir, and one of them is Gaiman Palehair, right? So how did I even get to talking about that? Oh yeah, so Viserys still has, like I said, he has Aegon 2, then he has Aemon, and then he has Daeron. All three of them are capable of ruling, and he still never names them heirs. So because he can't realize that after he's dead, he can no longer enforce his word, it's like he's very self-reflective. So that's really cool. Oh, shit, we got a super chat from Rafael Luno. Appreciate that, man. No message. Oh, but you got a thing right here. Sir Kristen, thank you for that. Sir Kristen is a bitch, too. Just go through with it. Expecting her to leave her legacy behind and just turn on her for turning him down. The seeds have been planted. No happy endings here. Hell yeah. I mean, I kind of understand that. I agree with what he does, right? So Rhaenyra doesn't realize that, like, even though her dad is telling her she has to do something, ultimately he has no way of stopping her. And the only other person that could potentially stop her is Daemon. Daemon would join her, right? So you got to look at it from that perspective. And Cole probably knows that. He knows that Rhaenyra is a dragon rider. The king doesn't ride dragons. Really no one else at this time does, except for House Velaryon, and they're not on the best of terms with the king. So ultimately, Rhaenyra could run away. The king would have to either name Daemon as heir or name his son as heir. And like Cole knows that. Rhaenyra's like, no, right? But the reason why is because she knows that she has to protect Westeros from this threat that's coming from the north, the Valyrian prophecy, the Song of Ice and Fire, right? So that's why she ultimately turns him down. But I kind of agree with Cole there. But yeah, what do you think? Brendan Bailey says, I'm ready for Fire and Blood, the epic battles on dragons. Hell yeah. Okay, let's break down this promo. That's what I keep thinking, like, what am I supposed to talk about now? You have the promo mark. All right, here we go. This will be the last thing we do. All right, so the opening shot is of Caraxes. Daemon flying. That looks like a new location. Although there were shots of Daemon climbing a cave and potentially stealing an egg for his kids from Dragonstone. Probably won't have to do that. I was probably, once again, another thing I was wrong about. But the opening shot is of Caraxes. And then, let's see, we have the King's Small Council meeting, right? This is where we see Viserys losing all of his goddamn hair. And for the first time, the older version, oh shit, that's cool. So I follow Gavin Spokes on Instagram, and he got to use his real hair after the time jump. That's awesome. Like, that's really cool. He probably like didn't have to sit as in long, because you always hear the actors bitch about how long it takes to put on the wig. So that's cool. He got to use his real hair. And this is the first time we see the older versions of Rhaenyra and Alicent, played by Emma Darcy and Olivia Cook. Super excited. Very excited. God dang it. He looks like the dude from The Fly. Oh, man. Jesus, King. Wear a freaking hat. Cover that shit up. Damn, that's probably why he does eventually put on the half gold mask. And then we see Olivia Cook. Hello, Alicent. Oh, juxtaposed by Emma Darcy, and they're playing Rhaenyra. So pretty. I can't believe there were people that were talking shit about them, like when they were first cast in this role. Like, you fucking idiot. You're looking at the headshots. I'm calling the people who said they were ugly fucking idiots. You looked at their headshots and were like, oh my God, that's not Rhaenyra. That's not the Disney version of who I think Rhaenyra is. No, but look how fucking pretty they are. Look. Gorgeous, right? Come on, shut the fuck up. Watch the show. There's also people who were talking shit about Matt Smith playing Daemon. I don't like dudes, but I was like, yo, this dude looks intimidating as shit. He'll be able to pull off Daemon. He used to play rugby in college or some shit. He's going to be able to pull off this role. Guess what? He pulls it off. And all those people that were talking shit about him are now sucking his dick. And they're doing the same thing with Emma Darcy, or they're about to, right? So I'm patting myself on the back, because I knew and knew from the first image I saw of these actors that they could pull it off. No, I'm just kidding. Sucking my own dick now, but yeah. Oh man. Let me pull up the captions because I don't know what they're saying. Small council, right? Older versions, right? The king looks like crap. Basically, they have a disagreement. And, they're talking about the stepstones, right? That's going to come back and bite Damon in the butt, too. The stepstones later on in the story. Don't have time to get into that right now. But ultimately, it's going to be very much like, if I had to guess, the rivalry between Tyrion and Cersei, right? So Tyrion and Cersei are always talking shit to each other. They always are at each other's necks. That's how Alicent and Rhaenyra are going to be in the show when they're older. And Rhaenyra's still the heir. She's still obviously she's the heir of the whole story, but this is before they have the massive falling out, before Viserys dies. So they're forced in close captivity. Eventually the king says, yo, you can go to Dragonstone, right? But it's just think Tyrion and Cersei. It's going to be very funny to see, these lines like undefended, my queen, like all the sass. It's going to be hilarious. The look on Olivia Cook's face was amazing. She's like, yo, are you, what did you say? Queen? You should say mom, mother. Then we get a shot of Aemon claiming Vhagar, or no, this is the other thing that I'm wrong about. This, as soon as I saw it in the trailer, I was like, God damn it, I keep getting wrong about things that I'm so confident about, and I have to admit it, right? I thought this, and I've been saying this for like 6 months. I thought this was Daemon sneaking into the cave of Dragonstone, stealing eggs for his children that he has with Lena because the king doesn't want him to marry Lena. I think the king's gonna be cool with Daemon marrying Lena on this TV show, so Daemon probably won't have to do that. This is, I don't know who the fuck this is. This could potentially be Dreamfire. I don't know, Cannibal. I don't know. It's clearly Aemon, like we saw. It's a younger version of Aemon, right? And this is two different shots. Maybe I'm not. No, it's the same. So maybe he's walking up. Maybe that's Sea Smoke. Is that Sea Smoke? Yeah. Yep. Sea Smoke. So Sea Smoke and Vhagar are kept in a certain location on high tide. Aemon has to sneak into there before everyone wakes up and steals Vhagar. Obviously, Sea Smoke hears him approach and probably blows this gout of fire at him, and then he, falls back. Maybe Sea Smoke flies away or something, and he ultimately claims Vhagar in these moments. But like I said, for the longest, I thought this was Daemon, but it's not. It's the younger version of Aemon. I don't know the actor's name who's playing him. I just looked it up on Instagram earlier, but I don't have the time to do that again right now. Then we got Aegon 2 fighting. It's either Jacaerys, the younger version of Jacaerys. Yes, because it can't be Lucerys, too young for Lucerys. So yeah, it kicks the shit out of Jacaerys, and then it looks like this is where Harwin steps in, right? And Harwin's like, yo, you're not going to check Aegon 2 for kicking the shit out of my son? The Prince of Dragonstone, right? Even though the guy with the white hair should be the Prince of Dragonstone, he's not. You're not going to check him? I'm going to check you. And this is where Cole gets knocked out by. Holy fuck, you look terrible, Viserys. Jesus. Dude. I'm going to make that an emoji. I'm going to put that as an emoji for channel members. I'm going to... It looks so bad. The only thing he's missing is little tiny baby hands. Like from the XNL skit with Rachel Dratch where she's got the little baby hands or whatever. That's the only thing they need to make it so perfect. He'd be like this. Yes. Yes. They are fighting. God, he looks terrible. Holy crap. This is nuts. I wonder if all this extra makeup that he puts on, he looks so bad. What the fuck? How could you smile and look that shitty? If I look that shitty, I'd be like this the whole time. Like I do. I wonder if Matt, I wonder if Matt Smith like, whoever he's acting with in a scene, how do you keep a straight face? Because Patty Considine is silly as shit. We all see all these videos coming out. How do you do it? This is hilarious. I wonder if Ryan Condal was like, yeah, let's make the king look like the Fly, basically, by the end, and then have it this funny. Oh my god, that is hilarious. That's too funny. That's too funny. All right, so yeah, let's continue on. So yeah, Cole is about to get checked by Harwin, and it's because Aegon kicks Jacaerys in the chest. Lucky. All right, let's make it past that. Then we see the older version of Lena, Savannah Stern. I can't remember her name, right? But that is one of Daemon's daughter. One of the younger version of Daemon's daughter. The Lena's pregnant, as you can see, but Daemon has twin daughters with her. We don't see Bela. That looks like the actress who's being. Oh, what the fuck did I just do? That looked like that was. That looked like that's Rhaena, not Baela, right? So Rhaena, Daemon has twins with Lena. Rhaena is named after Lena, and Baela is named after Balon, Daemon's father, right? This looks like that's one of the dragon twins, Rhaena. And she's comforting her mother who's pregnant. And if the leaks are true, holy mother fudge, that scene's going to be crazy. That I'm not even going to mention that because that is not even just a book spoiler. And I talk about leaks and I show leaked pictures in my videos, but if this leak is true, which it probably is because this is the same person, at least through my DMs on Twitter, this person sent me a crazy mix of stuff, right? And one of the things they said was that, Cole is going to try to commit suicide and Allison stops him. And that's not just something that the person sent me. They also shared it on all of social media. So this was common knowledge, right? And then they also said that something crazy happens with Lena when she gives birth to that baby. Now, in the books, Lena just dies. She just dies giving birth. Obviously, we know that Rhaenyra is eventually going to marry Daemon. And the only way that could happen is if Lena's dead. Like, Daemon's not going to be able to take on two wives. Don't feel bad about saying that if you... well, whatever. Why do I keep getting sucked into mentioning spoilers? It's like, dude, this book has been out for 4 years, going on 5 years. If you hadn't read it and you're watching the TV show, you should have probably read it before you started watching. But what happens to Lena during childbirth is going to be insanely tragic to watch. Jesus. And then we have this scene of... there were people that were asking me if that's Timothy Chalamet. No, that's not Chalamet from Dune. That's Titanic. But they do look very similar. This is how they quicken the dragon eggs. Very exciting. Very exciting. It looks like they're doing that. And, we may see a Targaryen or Velaryon mixed Targaryen child baby sleeping with the eggs in their cradle, which is something that's really cool because that's mentioned in the books. Let me kind of fast forward through these next scenes. Like I said, younger version of Aegon probably looking cocky after kicking Jacaerys in the chest. Like, you can't do shit, Harwin. What the fuck are you going to do, Yes, that's what's happening here. So this is the other twin, maybe. This is actually Bela. Bela is very punk rock. Her dragon goes out killing Sunfire, who's Aegon, who we just saw. And that's kind of like crazy they're doing foreshadowing this early in the show because, like, Sunfire fights so many dragons, loses wings, is able to heal, fly again, but then ultimately he's killed by this girl's young dragon. The dragon hatches with her, grows up with her. Her dragon, I can't remember what her dragon's name is. I keep wanting to say Morning for some reason. Is it Morning? I don't remember. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. Let's keep breaking this down, right? Oh, God, look at Vhagar. All right, so then we get, after this, it continues on. I'm also jumping this around, too, so YouTube doesn't flag this video because I'm showing a whole clip, right? So this is Daemon and Lena when they leave for Pentos. We have a shot. We've seen a picture of Daemon in the same vest that he's wearing. They are either in Pentos or at High Tide. It doesn't. I think they kind of have to leave because the king is pissed that Daemon does this behind his back. May not be the case in the TV show, but that's kind of what happens in the books. And then we see a shot of them flying. Yo, I have never seen anyone on Dragonback on a dragon with that much space around them. Vhagar's going to be fucking huge. Vhagar's going to be the correct color. That is a bluish, greenish with bronze highlights on the wings. Holy crap, this reveal is going to be amazing. Another thing I was wrong about was that I thought Vhagar would be with, obviously with Laenor and Rhaenys and their dragons. Sea Smoke is ridden by Laenor, and then Rhaenys rides Meleys the Red Queen. I thought she would be with them, but that was probably too much to have on screen at the same time. Look at how fucking big this dragon is. Caraxes is going to have trouble keeping up. And when that fight happens in the battle above the God's Eye, there will be callbacks to this. And Caraxes will be very mad at Vhagar. And that anger is probably what drives, because basically Vhagar betrays Lena's memory, right? But a dragon is a dragon. You know? Dragon is not a slave. All right. So yeah, goddamn Vhagar is big. So I did I believe this is Sunfire. I'm not sure. Maybe not though. Yeah. Looks pretty golden to me. Golden eyes. Maybe that's Sunfire. I'm not sure, but those are dragon shepherds, dragon tamers. One of them is probably going to be scorned by a dragon and becomes the preacher. The preacher convinces the citizens of King's Landing to go and destroy the dragon pit at the end of the story. Kills a bunch of dragons. So this is Jacaerys, younger version of Jacaerys, and that's little baby Joffrey right there. Joffrey is named by Laenor after the guy who we just saw got his skull beaten off by none other than Criston Cole himself. Lionel, buddy, that hair. Oh, I spoke too soon. Viserys, buddy, the everything. Holy shiz. His arm is gone. If I'm not mistaken. It's already cut off there. Harwin beating Cole for allowing, that to happen with the Strong Boys and Aegon 2 and Aemon. That was definitely Joffrey. Brown eyes, brown hair, strong pug nose like his daddy, Harwin. Yep. And basically, Alicent, the whole rest of the trailer is telling the king, yo, she not only cheated on Laenor once, but 3 times. Basically, Alicent and Rhaenyra, the relationship will heat up over the next couple of episodes and ultimately lead to them, declaring war upon each other. So, I will say this. Rhaenyra told a little lie, and Alicent's payback is a little harsh. Just a little bit. But ultimately, plotting, wine sipping. This episode's going to be amazing. I got to look up to see who directed it. But who directed the last episode. So that is Sunfire. But Jacaerys yells Jacaerys. And when he yells Jacaerys, he's probably saying it to his dragon, not Aegon 2's dragon. So it looks like they're training together in the yard, and they're also training on how to use their dragons in the dragon pit. So that is really cool and really fun, right? Right now we have 240 people watching right now, and I'm going to be wrapping this up. So please, if you could please do me a favor, slap a like on this video. Like goal is going to be just as many as possible. Also, if you could subscribe, I'm really, really close to hitting 100,000 here on YouTube, and I'm going to double check right now. I don't think I hit that. But basically what that does is when you're being shadow banned, YouTube removes you from the algorithm. But once you hit 100,000 subscribers, it's basically like getting a blue check mark on Twitter, on Instagram, where you're verified, right? So there's a few perks that come with your channel, and one of them is having direct contact. And this is something I have never even mentioned, but one of them is you get like direct contact with like some of the admins and like moderators at YouTube. So you're able to communicate with an actual person, and maybe I can get them to look into being shadow banned. Also, in their algorithm, people who have that 100,000 mark on YouTube, their videos tend to get promoted more. So that's why I think it'll help break that shadow ban for whatever the hell it was that I did to get that shit in the first place. But thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing if you did so. Thank you for slapping a like. Thank you for donating in the super chat if you did that. Also, thank you to every single person who donated last week to my PayPal. And I wanted to wait. Actually, before I do that, there were several questions on Patreon, and I wanted to save these two things for the end so I know exactly where to tell the people to go to look so that they could see that, right? So I asked my patrons early for questions that they wanted addressed in this live stream, and there were several comments, right? And I also want to give a thank you to every single person who donated on my PayPal, because my internet was literally going to be shut off last week, so people donated and helped me pay my bill. So I want to make sure I give everyone who did that a proper shout out, right? So let's see. Shout out to PayPal X weird. Shout out to Breanne Johnson, Debbie Grover, Dennis J. Sorensen, Eva Rodriguez, Gabriella Lott, Heart of Inspiration, Israel Sexton, Jan Spiker, Kelly Ann Dooley, Laura Tooth. And why does it cut off right there? It doesn't show more names. Okay, there we go. Shannon Grimes, Matthew Vance, Tracy Whitlock, Laura Toth, Samarica Doles. Thank you to every single person who donated on my PayPal for that. And then the last couple things that I wanted to talk about. I know I said the live stream was about to end, but it's actually not. We got about another 10 to 20 minutes. Depends on how long it takes me to answer these questions from my patrons. All right. So Heart of Inspiration says, and these are all members of my Patreon channel over on Patreon.com, or my Patreon family over on patreon.com/YourHuntReviews. If you're unaware, basically that's just another way for me to further combat YouTube delisting my channel, where I put a lot of time and energy and effort into my videos. If you enjoy them, Patreon's a way for you to give me a couple of dollars a month, just as a way of saying thank you, right? Long story short. So thank you to every single member who does that. One of the things you get to do is if you join a certain tier, you get to have videos made to your specific requirements once a month. And then also, whenever I do these Q&As or anything like this, I usually do one Q&A a week where I take comments from all of my videos and put them in one video and then answer them. Like, I think it's very personal because I'm like showing my face. I'm picking these questions and I'm answering them. Usually I try to pick people who I've never either answered or responded to their comment, or just someone who just joined the channel. But anyway, the first one is actually not from Heart of Inspiration. It's from House Flugleman. And he or she or they says, I'd be interested in what chapters from the books these episodes are following. I've done the audio book, and this was a post that I made on Patreon where I said, if you guys have any questions or anything like that, let me know right here and I'll address it in it. So they range from different things. So House Flugleman said, I'd be interested in what chapters from the books these episodes are following. I've done the audiobook several times, mostly while traveling. I'd like to go back and reference the episodes to the books. And yes, this is me being lazy. Smiling faces. So I actually started what I'm going to put book to show stuff. So it'd be easier to do that in a podcast. Like I always mention in every single video what happened in the books and what they did in the show. And I mentioned it for like the first hour of this live stream. I'm always going to do that. But after the first season ends, I'm going to do long form podcasts where I'll have different people. Like I'll probably have my boy Ray. I had him on a couple of Sundays ago. I'll also have on Robert from In Deep Geek, and then maybe a few other YouTubers who I'm like trying to reach out to, right? We're going to discuss those. So I got to get people who have read Fire and Blood, and we're going to discuss exactly what happens in the first episode. And in the first episode through the 10th episode. And that'll be easier when all the episodes come out and after we've had like a month or so to watch them. So watch out for that. It's as of right now, I'm just calling it the Hot D podcast or the House of Dragon podcast. And that episode was already up. I dropped it Friday or Thursday. Go watch that. It's linked down below in the description. And the next one is from Heart of Inspiration. And she says, I would be interested in an explanation of the sigils in the intro if you haven't already done one. I actually did. When we first got the intro in the second episode, I talked about how we have Jaehaerys' crown, and then we have Aegon the Conqueror's crown, and what those different houses and what the sigils are. So that's in my episode 1 things you missed breakdown. It's like, I think like maybe 15 minutes. But it's the one on episode 1, not the live stream, but the actual, episode 2, the one where we got the intro. And then continuing on, they go on to say, also, Do Daemon and Rhaenyra have children? Yes. They have 3 children, but only 2 of them are born. So they have obviously Aegon the Third, right? So Aegon Dragonsbane, right? So he's the last king that has dragons in his reign, and they all die under his reign. So he's known as that. But also he's afraid of dragons because ultimately he watches his mother Rhaenyra get eaten by Sunfire. So he hates dragons. And when Daemon's other children come around, right? So Daemon is Aegon's dad. So to answer your question, yes, Rhaenyra and Daemon do have kids. But when Daemon's children with Laena come around, the dragon twins, King Aegon is deathly afraid of that. So that happens during the hour of the wolf at the very end of the story. And then also they said, what happens to Alicent and House Hightower after this is done? I mentioned that during this live stream, but basically Alicent makes it all the way to the end, and she kind of I feel like her ending is going to be different than it is in the TV show. I'm sorry, than what happens to her in the books, but ultimately I don't see her dying like before we get to like the Hour of the Wolf. House Hightower doesn't play a role in Game of Thrones really at all. Like in the books right now, the leader of House Hightower, so like the Lord of House Hightower, has been locked away in the Hightower for years and no one's seen him except for his kids. So that's kind of mysterious. And obviously he's tied in with the Maesters and the plots that are happening with them and the Faceless Men and Bravos, and then also at the Citadel in Old Town. Yeah, I don't know. Chat, do y'all think Alicent will die before the Hour of the Wolf or after the Hour of the Wolf? And then just to get to the next question and keep this moving along a little bit, the last one is from AnaaaRodarte, and this is a new patron member, and they said, I would be interested in your opinion on Rhaenyra and Daemon's relationship. Do you think they really love each other or just for power? And do you think they will decide, and how do you think they decide to get married later on if he just left her with blue balls? Right. So a lot of people were saying that Daemon, Ryan Condal confirmed this. Daemon is impotent, but that's kind of tied into the fact that he's in his head too much, but then also he kind of is in love with his niece, or at least loves her and cares about her. So he doesn't want to do something like, be the first one or something like that. So that's kind of why he just like turns her down. But ultimately, they are sort of forced together for the story, right? So Daemon always covets the Iron Throne. He keeps getting slighted by the king left and right. So when Rhaenyra finally is able to marry, once Laenor and Harwin die, Daemon slides in. On the TV show, they're going to make it much more emotional. We saw Daemon and Rhaenyra getting married, and in that Velaryon wedding marriage, they have like cut lips, or at least they cut their hands, and their hands are bound in blood, and then that blood like sort of drips on their face. It looks like it gets in their mouth, right? It looks like it's going to be them falling in love. So Daemon is probably, because he's teaching her how to maneuver her way in that like marriage is a political thing. She can still be with who she truly desires. This show's kind of making it like they've always sort of been in love with each other. And then ultimately, once, the position allows for them to be able to, they're going to get together. So it'll be like a love story. All right. So that was the last question from our Patreon. I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you could, please slap a like on this video. Like goal is going to be 420. I want to thank you all so much for watching and joining me in this live stream. Check out the episode breakdown. It should be I'll say before 5, because this live stream went on a little bit longer than I thought it would. Thank you all so much for watching. My name is Ixos. Right. BioExplorer. All right. Look, impotency is not permanent. But if you can't get your dick hard with one person, and then it happens again, and then also you never did it with your right weird voice in the veil, you probably have a little bit of a problem, and you should call 4 hymns. Take it from personal experience. 4 hymns. It's not permanent. It doesn't mean like he can't get a boner, like his dick doesn't work at all, but it does mean that in those times when he couldn't, he was impotent. I don't know. Thank you all so much for watching. Not long that. Thank you for the comment box. Long that.